Hello and welcome to the 14th broadcast of the Nerdflix podcast. Today's topic, Gravity Falls. Covering both seasons, I have a lot of facts to go through, so let's get started. Hey, it's time for Nerdflix! Welcome to the Nerdflix podcast. So Gravity Falls is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite. Gravity Falls is an excellent show, and I really do like it a lot. It's a great cross between comedy and action and adventure and mystery, and I really do think it is an amazing show. Gravity Falls started about 10 years back, really, at this point. And it only had 2 seasons, which is kind of disappointing, but it was its own very elaborate story, so the story only went for 2 seasons. But it was very good. I do hope there can be more from Gravity Falls in the future. I know there's been books and graphic novels, but I would like another season, a couple more seasons, 1 billion more seasons. I want more Gravity Falls, and a lot of fans do. So there's rumors that there might be more Gravity Falls in the future, but I really do hope there'll be more Gravity Falls. We'll start talking about Season 1. Season 1, we start off with our first episode called Tourist Trap. We deal with gnomes in that episode. Then comes The Legend of the Gobblewonker, where they go on a fishing trip. Headhunters, where they deal with our wax sculptures coming alive. The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. It is about this new person they meet named Gideon, who is really just a nuisance. And then we get into that later throughout the episode and later throughout the series, and the more Gideon. The Inconveniencing, Dipper versus Manliness, Double Dipper, Irrational Treasure, The Time Traveler's Pig, where Mabel gets her adorable pig Waddles, and we do deal with some time traveling. Fight Fighters, Little Dipper, Summerween, Halloween but in the summer because the whole show is supposed to take place over the course of a summer. Boss Mabel, Bottomless Pit, The Deep End, Carpet Diem, Boys Crazy, Land Before Swine, Dreamscapers, and Gideon Rises. Gideon Rises is when, Gideon rises, and he builds this giant robot of himself, but basically in the end he takes over the Mystery Shack, the place where basically all the stuff happens in Gravity Falls, where Dipper and Mabel stay, and now Gideon owns the Mystery Shack. And that is how we end Season 1. And then Season 2, it tends to get a lot more serious, and it goes into the topic of Bill Cipher. Bill Cipher, one of my favorite characters, really. He's this fun little triangle guy with one eye, and he's, really overpowered, and he basically wants to take over everything, and he's from all sorts of other dimensions. So in Season 2, the first episode is called Scary Okie. We deal with zombies. Into the Bunker, The Gulf War, Sock Opera, Seuss and the Real Girl, Little Gift Shop of Horrors, Society of the Blind Eye. That is a very important episode. We go into the Society of the Blind Eye, which are people who erase the memories of people who have seen a weirdness in Gravity Falls. Blendon's Game, The Love God, Northwest Mansion Mystery, Not What He Seems, A Tale of Two Stands, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. Stanchion Candidate, The Last Mabel Corn, Roadside Attraction, Dipper and Mabel versus the Future, and now we get into Weirdmageddon. Weirdmageddon is a 4-part series that finishes off Gravity Falls with Bill Cipher taking over, and they must defeat him. We have Weirdmageddon Part 1, Weirdmageddon Part 2, Escape from Reality, Weirdmageddon Part 3, Take Back the Falls, and then we have the final Weirdmageddon Part 4, where the series ends. So basically the show is about these kids who are spending the summer with their great uncle, in this weird town in Oregon called Gravity Falls. And a lot of weird stuff happens in this town. And they're staying in an even weirder place called the Mystery Shack. Their grunkle is kind of like scam roadside attraction. And a lot of weirdness happens throughout the show. And it's overall like really good. This show is so popular, it's been translated to many languages across the world for other kids in other countries to watch it. But a lot of things have been changed and moved around and rewritten for translating in other countries for a number of reasons. And one of the things that happens when they translate is that some of the names get changed around. For whatever reason, the Mystery Shack has become the Mystery Hut. They've even shortened it to call it The Hut, which, if that was in America, it'd just sound like a promotion from Pizza Hut. The Secret Shack, all sorts of stuff. And the most interesting one is how they translate Waddles, the pig that Mabel gets in The Time Traveler's Pig and keeps throughout the entire series. In other countries, it's been called Flab and Chubby. And in one country, it's called Pato, which translates to duck, which is a little strange because it's a pig. There are a lot of different and interesting characters in this show, and a lot of these characters are based off of family members and people that the creator of Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch, knew, including Seuss being like this guy he knew in college. Mabel and Dipper are twins, and Alex Hirsch actually had a twin sister who wore sweaters like Mabel, and Grunkle Stan is similar to his grandfather. Not only does Alex Hirsch create the show and come up with the episodes, but he also voices a lot of the characters in the show. In fact, he voices Seuss, Stan, and Bill Cipher. The same person voicing all three of those very different characters. That's pretty impressive. Throughout the series, there are many Easter eggs, and one of them being throughout the series you randomly see the letter H. Well, what is the significance? Nobody really knows. But the letter H could stand for Alex Hirsch's last name, the creator of the show. But the next time you watch Gravity Falls, look for the letter H. Throughout the series, there are also extra codes and puzzles to unlock or crack. Now, these are super complicated, so I can't really get into how it works. But there are codes that show up in the credits and different puzzle pieces. There's puzzle pieces that show up to create a page that's Stanley and Stanford's heads on a journal page. And there's codes to crack that supposedly give you a message. Now, there is a way to crack it, and I'm going to look into it, and if I can solve these codes, I will get back to you on a future podcast. But until then, there's some secret codes in there that I don't understand, and there are people who have figured them out. And I am interested in doing that, but it's really complicated. If you are a big fan of Gravity Falls, or you're just even interested in this, go on YouTube and search up Gravity Falls themed Reversed. It's the Gravity Falls themed play in reverse, and it makes a pretty unique song. It doesn't sound like a terrible clippy noise like anything in reverse usually does. It makes its own special song. And so I don't know if that was intentional or if that was the way it worked out. But if you play the Gravity Falls themes in reverse, it's its own theme. Speaking of the theme song, in the theme song we do see at one point some photos being basically, thrown onto a table of different weirdness that Mabel and Dipper discovered while in Gravity Falls. But if you look very closely at the top of the screen, in fact the entire photo isn't in the frame, but you can see what looks like an animated version of Alex Hirsch. In fact, Alex Hirsch does appear animated throughout the entire series. In fact, almost in every episode. So look out for that next time you watch Gravity Falls. For 1 year during the Puppy Bowl, Gravity Falls creators made a very special commercial to air during the Puppy Bowl. It's called Gravity Paws, and it's the Gravity Falls theme song, but portrayed through dogs. And it's actually very cool. It's also on YouTube, so if you get the chance, check that out. And it's pretty interesting to watch. And now it is time for another segment of product review. I don't own much for this show. I actually only own really one thing. I'd like to own more, but currently I only own the hat that Dipper wears in Gravity Falls. It's a pretty cool relic. I do know, like, 2 people who own this as well. It is basically just the hat that Dipper wears throughout the series as a hat that you can wear. And it is a very cool thing to own. But there is plenty available for this show. You can get a stuffed Waddles. You can get a nightlight that looks like the Bill Cipher shrine. That's like $30, but I think it'd be worth it. Now, there are Funkos available for this show. They're older. They came out a few years ago, so they're kind of pricey. There's a Bill Cipher here for $17, but I don't think he looks too good as a Funko, but and then there's Dipper here for $24. This is on Amazon, by the way. So you might be able to find better prices on other websites, but there's a Bill Cipher Chase available for about $33. So yeah, like I said, a little pricey. You can get a Bill Cipher plush for about $15. You can get a Hot Topic blind bag Gravity Falls figure for about $10. You can get all sorts of shirts. I do have a sticker set that here it is available on Amazon for about $7. It does come with a good amount of Gravity Falls stickers, and they are pretty nice. You can get Grunkle Stan's Fez if that's what you're into. And you have all sorts of face masks, and book bags, and blankets. So there is a lot available for Gravity Falls. But one of the key things that I wish I owned, I want to get a copy of this. I hope I get a copy of this one day. But it is the Journal 3. So the third journal from Gravity Falls. It's called Journal 3, and it's an actual book you can get. It is about $16 on Amazon. Not bad. And it's really nice. I do know somebody who owns this, and I have looked into it, and it is really cool. So it basically looks like the third journal from Gravity Falls, and it is a book full of all sorts of information about creatures and all sorts of fun facts about Gravity Falls. So this is pretty nice, and there's some pretty nice stuff available. If we go all the way back to the first Nerdflix podcast, we talk about Alfred Molina in Spider-Man. Well, he actually had a voice acting cameo in Gravity Falls. If you know Multi-Bear from one of the episodes, a bear that is multiple bears in one bear, basically, it is actually voiced by Alfred Molina himself. And so that's a pretty cool voice cameo that they have, and they do have a bunch of extra voicing cameos in Gravity Falls. It is clear that Alex Hirsch had the entire show laid out when he started it, because there are numerous references to what's later to come. One of them being in one episode when they travel in Grunkle Stan's mind, you can see a rusty old swing set, a reference to the swing set we see later on in the series as we flash back to Stanley and Stanford's childhood. But one of them is Agent Trigger and Agent Powers, the time-traveling police agent people who show up in a later episode, The Time Traveler's Pig. But we do see these characters in the backgrounds of episodes before that. And then we do see numerous eyes and triangles throughout the series, well before Bill Cipher's first appearance, an obvious reference to what is to come. And in fact, when Bill Cipher is first summoned, all the trees around them suddenly appear to have eyes on them if you look closely. So there is lots of reference to future events in the series. In the very last episode, if you watch all the way to the end of the credits, you see some weird footage of what looks like a real Bill Cipher statue in the middle of nowhere in the woods. Well, yes, there is a real Bill Cipher statue, put there by Alex Hirsch himself in some place in Oregon. And you can actually go and visit this Bill Cipher statue in the middle of the woods. And it looks really cool, and I'd love to go and visit it. Alright guys, that is it for this episode of Nerdflix. I hope you join us next week, and until then, I will see you next time on Nerdflix. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.